Howls over Baaz. I'm Ronnie Adams.
And I'm Jacob Casas, and here with Claudio Ingleton, and this episode is called Mainstream Realtor.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to start out, Claudio. We've known each other a little bit, but I want to start out with just you introducing yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Perfect. Well, my name's Claudio Ingleton. For my profession, it is real estate. I sell residential real estate here in Southern California. But besides that, it's like the Alice in Wonderland. Who are you?
Yeah.
I'm a father, and that one has become my main priority. Like, it's one of my purposes in life. I could fail at everything in business, in relationships, and everything, but I don't want to fail as a father. And then other than that, I like to have a good time with my friends. Go out to eat to restaurants, enjoy a good lifestyle. But at the end of the day, we have a lot of goals to accomplish right now. So we're who I am is TBD. It's still in process.
That's what's up.
Yeah, still in development.
So look, what we've been doing too is a lot of people been on the rise that we bring in.
Nice.
Right? And we like to see that struggle part.
Oh,
so
yeah.
how did Claudio get to the point he's at? So, let's start off with, obviously, we go with howlers. So, howlers and Baaz, right?
Yeah.
We consider you a howler. That's why you're on this show right now. So I want to know how Claudio got to that part, that part of being an entrepreneur, being a man that can take care of his children and having to be a leader and provider. So, how did you get to that point? Tell us a little about yourself and the struggle that you've had to go through to get to where you are.
Yes. So the good, the bad, the ugly.
The good, the bad, the ugly.
It's interesting. I know we had briefly talked about that topic, and I was thinking, I got anything you could come up with on the resume, it's on my checklist. It's been a repossession, it's been a foreclosure, bankruptcy, divorce, like everything, all the challenges that could come up in life where people could be like, all right, I give up, I'm defeated, they're there. But I listen to Jim Rohn a lot, and what he's talked about is the ant mentality, and how ants, like, you put a finger in front of them and they'll go around it. They just keep going until. And the whole mentality of an ant is until. They don't stop. Whatever the challenge, whatever's going to, unless you kill them. You kill them or they get there. And that's what's, I think, keeping me going is that the mentality of just, we're going to figure it out. Everything is figure outable. Whenever we have problems, there's going to be a solution. Whenever there's winter, there's going to be summer. And when there's summer, there's going to be winter. It's just part of life.
Definitely.
Yeah. So a lot of things we talk about is leadership. So how does leadership fit into who you are as a person, from family to entrepreneur?
Yes. Everything rises and falls on leadership, and leadership is nothing more than influence. So if someone calls themselves a leader because they have a title, that's very entry level. Because I've been in rooms where, there's people that have the title, and one person speaks up, and that's who they follow. That's the true leader in the room. And so whenever someone has influence, and it could be as simple as, the mother to her children, or the teacher to her students, or in my case, the real estate agent to his clients. Whatever the case is, it has to be influence. So what can we bring to the table where people feel that they could follow us and know that we have the vision and we have the ability to get them where they need to go?
When did you first notice that you were a leader?
I would hear it from other people. I still don't see myself as a leader, because I'm a student. I'm a student to the game. I'm a student of life. And so I have people that I follow, but anytime there's an opportunity to help, and I hope, I hope that in general, like, people start to actually get in tune with that, especially men, that men start to get in tune with that. Help whoever you can help as much as you possibly can.
But that's leadership if you're helping someone.
Yes.
But you know what, though? That's what we've been talking about a lot on this show, too, is the leadership part of things. We're not used to talking to each other ourselves about being a leader, right? It's weird to us to even say that out loud, right? It doesn't make any sense. Like you just know you are. It's not like we sit here around here and just say we're leaders,
right?
But I feel like this generation needs that. Like we need to figure out more of who we are, because people know we are, right? That's why I reached out to you, say, hey, you know what? I want you on this show. Yeah. We see leadership in you, right? I mean, like I said, a howler recognizes another Howl. That's the same Howl, right?
Yes.
So that's why we even brought that up to you about that, because I know it's weird to say, hey, we're leaders, we're this, we're that, because we real leaders are all students, just like you said. They're always learning, always advancing, always moving forward, right?
And especially when you have children. You know, when you have children, people are, you know, your children are looking up to you. Yeah. You have to lead them, you know, in every aspect of life. You know, so we try not, like you said, I don't want to fail in anything. Yeah, if I fail at anything, I'm not failing being a father.
Yeah.
So another thing that we talk a lot about from being a man, being an entrepreneur, and being a leader is being courageous. Now, as a man, being courageous means there has to be fear somewhere in there to be courageous. Right. So in your experience of being a man, being an entrepreneur, what is one of the biggest things you had to be courageous about? That from anything that you've done, like something that you can think of that was one of the biggest times you had to be courageous, overcome fear?
You know, I think most of it has always been self-imposed. Like, it's just things that for myself, sometimes that I'll make up. I remember I'd be working, probably having one of my best months, and immediately my mind is already thinking, in a couple of months, what if this falls apart? I would already imagine my brother-in-law coming to help me fill up the U-Haul. I'm getting evicted again. Like, it was having those things, having those hurts from the past that kept bringing up, like, what if it happens again? I never saw that one coming, and I don't want it to come again. So there, it's what ended up happening is, like, when there's fear, the only way to get rid of fear is to have faith. And where there's fear, there's no faith. And where there's faith, there's no fear. So that courage had to not come from me, but that courage had to start tapping into my spiritual side with God.
So you felt like you was going to lose it all before?
Oh, yeah. Well, because I had lost it all when I never thought I would. So, you know, it's like when you're like in poker, when you're up, you think it's never enough, and when you're down, you think you're never going to get back up.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah.
So tell us about that, Claudio.
Yeah.
So you went. So you were soaring at one point, right? And you said you fell.
Yeah.
Right. So tell us about that. I feel like that's a lot of what men or entrepreneurs, leaders need to hear, because the fall is real. It happens to a lot of people.
Some don't get up.
But you got up, right?
Yeah.
But you did.
Yeah.
So explain to us the fall. Explain the fall and how that happened, and then how you overcame that.
Yeah. I mean, it was early 20s, right? Things were popping. Had my brand new house with brand new furniture. Went all out with, like, I remember picking out the colors of the Italian leather, picking out the abstract paintings to decorate everything, my sound system, running across and sliding on all the wood floors. And it was a 4-bedroom house. I'm like, I'm preparing for my future, for my family. You know, like, this was I was a single guy. And I was single, you know, player for life. So
we have a lot of those.
So it was bachelor pad, but eventually I knew my heart desired, like, eventually that's what I wanted, right? So you know, had my nice little car, my nice house. What happened is it's pretty much what it hit us. It hit a lot of people, and it was in 2007, turning into 2008. It was the collapse of the real estate market. Really, it was the mortgage crisis, and I remember having 18 files. Back then, it was actual paper files, 18 files, and we'd go to Orange County, walk into a mortgage or a mortgage investor, bring the files, like, everything's there, full documents, everything's gone. All you got to do is process them and fund them. Nobody was funding deals. We had clients, but we didn't have a bank that would actually finance the loans. Wow. So I depleted my savings through that process. Tried everything, getting roommates, then moving out, renting out the whole house, still paying like $1,500 out of my pocket to cover it. Finally, I was like, all right, that's it. I'm just gonna let it go. Foreclosure, the Lexus repossessed, bankrupt.
Okay,
right
but
after that, yeah.
What was your mind thinking during that time? Okay, so like I want to know what. Because you're successful again, right? But I want to know what your mind was thinking during that process.
In that process, I think the one thing I did was I looked around, and I knew it wasn't just me. Like if it had been just me going through that, and everyone else was thriving and doing good and building up, I think I would have been a lot harder on myself. I didn't enjoy the experience at all. I remember it was humbling, and it was a little chin check and everything. But I knew that this wasn't going to be the end, and I knew that if it was just happening to me, yeah, it's my fault. If it's happening to everybody, okay, how are we all going to get back from this? So I know that real estate is cyclical. Business has its ups and downs. I know, like earlier we were talking a little bit about the seasons. In summer, so here's one mistake I did. In summer, I forgot to think about winter. I was just thinking summer, all summer long. In summer, you got to prepare for winter, and in winter, you got to prepare for summer. And I think that was a little bit of the mindset there, where I was at least forgiving of myself. I was like, okay, at least I did save a little. At least I did invest in I did the things that I thought I needed to do to prove myself, or because I dropped out of college. I had scholarships, grants, everything straight out of high school. My first semester, I dropped out to start my business, and disappointed a lot of people. And but at the same time, it was like, okay, maybe they were right. But at the end of the day, in me, at that point, once your lid is popped open, I didn't even hear about the concept of money until I was like 18. Like, that we could even change our financial class, I had no idea we could even do that. I thought it was whatever we were born into, that's what you're born into. So from there on, once I started reading books, going to seminars, going to conferences, workshops, even sermons, once I started hearing all of that and hearing about financial education, money management, that's where everything started to click, where there was no going back. Once your lid is popped, there's no going back.
So you got through all that crisis, right?
Yeah.
And how did how did you bounce back?
Yeah. Well, to that checklist, I forgot to add one big one that also happened. It was I started working at a law firm and at Wells Fargo in the meantime, and then I get a DUI, and then I thought, this DUI is just a slap on the wrist. I kept everyone around me drinking and driving, no big deal. Then I get my second one, and that one, that was a big wake up call. And actually that there began a real introspect into myself. I took a break from my goals and what I wanted to accomplish, and then I went to start to work on myself. So I one thing that I strongly believe, and I would hear over and over and over, if you will change, everything will change for you. And sometimes people would ask me like, well, what did you have to change? What was that one thing you did? And my answer was everything. Who I was hanging out with, where I was going, what I was doing, what I was reading, what gym I was going to or not going to, what I was eating, the amount of water I'm drinking, everything had to change. So how I got back up was like, it was, okay, if today was day one, what are we going to do? And I just started going from day one.
That was a total cleanse that you did.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's like you had to die. I feel like a lot of men have to do that.
That's good.
They have to die for themselves.
Yes.
I'm glad you said that, because
the
other day I heard, sometimes we think we're being buried, but really we're being planted.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that happens a lot to men.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, we have to be the leaders.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have a lot of weight in our shoulders.
Yeah.
We forget about it sometimes.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And it's okay to start over.
Yeah. Sometimes
know?
you have no choice.
Yeah.
So how did you go from that and say, okay, now you're being reborn as a new person. You're pushing yourself. How did you get back on track? What did you do? What did your mindset say? Okay, this is what I'm going to do now to get back to where I was, or even flourish from that.
Yeah. I mean, everything around me looked like day one and looked like I was brand new, but I knew I'm not brand new. So I felt like I was going into it with an advantage. There's this book called Outliers, where there's like kids that are like a little bit older for the year and kids that are a little bit younger for the year, and how the ones that are a couple months older excel at sports because they're always like a little bigger, a little bit more developed, a little more emotional intelligence. And so I think I had that inner advantage where it's like, this isn't my first rodeo. I do know this. And sometimes and this part sounds a little egotistical, but where I'm just looking at someone like doing pretty good, and I'm just like, but they ain't better than me. Like, I know I got this. And of course, all of that takes developing skill set, working on the craft. And pretty much at the time, I was married to real estate. Like, I was, how we joke around, oh, I'm married to the game. I was married to real estate. It was like from early in the mornings, waking up at 4:30, all the way to 10 o'clock at night. I'd have a client in one conference room and another client in one conference room, and I'm walking back and forth, taking applications, showing property, and you could feel it. There's a certain activity that's happening where I know I'm like, ooh, we're about to have some big months in a couple of months, because it's like sun up to sundown.
But what I like what he said was, you said that this all went down. I mean, you lost a lot of stuff. You went through a major crisis. Yeah. And then when you built yourself to the mindset that you wanted to be at, you said, I feel like I'm at an advantage.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That really resonated to everything you said. I was like, wow. Yeah. That's like a whole different kind of mindset than people have. Mm-hmm. I've never heard anybody say that.
No.
I'll tell you that right now.
No.
I literally have never heard anybody say that. And that sounds like something that men need to hear.
Right.
Because, I mean, you said, you're like, you know what, I felt, I mean, and you seem so sincere.
Confident, motivated to take over.
And, at the same time, it's like, I think there was a thought that I would always have, and I still have to this day. The thought would always be, don't judge me on who I am right now, because I'm on the journey. Like, I'm not there yet. Judge me when I get there. And even when I get there, at that point when you're judging me, I realize I just got here. I'm barely starting all over again. Like, now we're at a new level. We're starting all over again, right? So it's like, because anytime I think we do that to ourselves more than anything. Like, it's one thing where you think like, oh, someone's judging you or you're judging someone, but more than anything, we do it to ourselves, where don't judge yourself where you're at right now. Let yourself keep going on that journey. Keep doing the best you can with what you got where you're at. And once you're there, start all over again.
It's always more to conquer.
Yeah. That's the exciting thing.
Yeah.
And that's actually one of the things that really got me into real estate, is that it's such a dynamic market where everything is constantly changing. Even that bad experience that I went through is probably going to happen again. Maybe not. Now we could prepare for it. Now we could adjust to it. But it's going to happen in the market, where lending programs are changing, where the people that are in the business that you're working with are changing. Clients are constantly changing. There's no transaction the same.
And that's what I wanted to kind of get at with him too, is, okay, so sales. I mean, how important is sales to you? Because I'm in a completely different field, right? Yeah. And sales is huge to me. Like, in my industry, there wasn't even salespeople, right? So I started going out and talking to my own customers and doing my own thing, right? And I started gaining customers that way. Yes. So, I mean, you would think, like, in certain fields, there'd be no sales in it. It's just there, go for it, and yeah. So how important is sales to you?
Well, I'm a salesperson. My license says real estate salesperson, so it's the most important thing to me. Yeah.
In any field, though.
Oh, in any field.
Yeah, like
that's what brings in the money.
Exactly.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So if people could be like, oh yeah, I'm in marketing, but if you don't got sales, you're just doodling. I'm a dentist, but if you don't got sales skills or a salesperson there,
right,
you're going out of business.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why so many companies go out of business. Some people get fixated on decorating the office and making sure the furniture is just right. I've been guilty of that. Some people get figuring out the logo, and some people by the time they're figuring out, it's
word of mouth is not always good enough.
No, I mean, and you know what? There was a point in even for me, like in real estate, where I used to brag about, like, I've done all of this organic. I've done this just door knocking, just referrals, making phone calls. I've never had to invest in advertising or in marketing. And then someone asked me, but imagine if you did. And I was like, oh man, I'd be 2-3 times of the production. So yeah, it's but definitely when it comes to sales skills, that's a skill set that at the end of the day, whatever it is, that one has to be priority. That's the meat and potatoes.
So what I wanted to ask him is, what do you do in sales for what you do in your business?
Yeah, I don't know if people even know this, but we have in our sales training, like formal sales training for real estate, we have scripts and dialogues. And so we do role play sessions where it's like almost like acting. You know, like where someone's pretending to be the client. I'm over here leading them with the different questions, with the dialogues, and we're scripted. And the ones, this is what I learned early on. I was fortunate. The first week I got into real estate, my manager told me, hey, there's a training happening in Riverside. It's for the next 5 days. You should go attend it. I go, and it's the coaching is Mike Ferry. Mike Ferry. He's like, they call him like the godfather of real estate. And it was all old school. Imagine like this, sales skill set with role playing, dialogues, handling objections, negotiations. All of that is pretty much the gift. Marketing, advertising, that's the gift wrap and the ribbon. You could live without the gift wrap. I mean, the gift wrap and the ribbon gets thrown away. It's what's left in the box.
That's good.
That's what matters.
Right.
Yes.
So what has been your favorite selling experience?
Ooh, that's a real good question. So, I mean, the ones that close.
Yes, definitely.
Always.
Always.
The ones that close. No, you know, it's a very dynamic business, and no transactions are the same. Like, I cannot tell you, like, this one is just like that. Everything is so eventful. I think some of the most memorable ones was my first transaction. It was just so sweet because, like, and when I think back on it, like, I was so naive. And poor guy, luckily, he stuck with me. I showed him houses every single day for 30 days.
Whoa.
And
impressive.
His wife even stopped coming because they were like, we don't even want this house. Like, why are you showing these? We don't even want to be in the city. I just knew I had to just keep showing them until they buy. And so every single day after work, he's coming with me. We're looking at properties, and he was my first transaction.
Was your very first transaction ever?
Very first transaction, yeah.
His first home?
His first home,
Mm-hmm.
and it was here in Fontana. And so, but the thing about it, it was just that when I look back on it, like, I realized, like, what a rookie I was and how green I was. And how did he not notice, like, dude, I wasn't the right agent for him. Like, you know, it was just, I'm just showing him houses he's not even looking, like, he wanted something he could just move in and be good. I'm showing him bank-owned properties that just because that was available in his price range, I'm like, I'm going to show it to you.
Right.
Anything. And he was patient with me, and he stuck with me. And then finally, they found a house that I thought they wouldn't even want. When we walked into the property, I was like, this ain't going to be it. And he's like, I love it. This is the one. I'm like, this one? It needed carpet. It needed paint. And for some reason, without us even having to ask, it was a bank-owned property. Right when we were getting ready to close escrow, the bank sent somebody, put in brand new carpet for them, put brand new padding, brand new paint. And so when they moved in and I'm giving them the keys, like, it was ready for them to move in. And we're just looking at each other like, I'm like, congratulations. Yes, I negotiated all this for you now.
Yeah, your first property is always right?
Yeah.
Something to remember.
Yes.
That just like it was like even a blessing.
Yeah.
Like for both of you guys
Exactly.
on each side. You know what I mean?
They're such good people. Yeah, such good people. So I do believe that. Yeah, I've been very fortunate where, like, all my clients are really good people. Like, I don't know how that happens. Like, I sometimes I look around and I'm you know, reviewing who I've worked with, and I'm like, or I hear other people and the clients they're working with, and I'm just like, wow, my clients are such good people. You know?
So, in my business, I look at my sales as educating, right? Because I don't want to go out there and I don't want to feel like I'm being a salesman. I'm trying to sell them, right? So I feel like you probably do the same thing because if you're looking at your clients as good people. You're probably really looking into them as who they are. So at one point when I was going out and reaching different customers and things like that, I would try to find my interest in them, like what they have going on, and I would try to put that into them and see, okay, I like this about them or what they do with their business, and I would try to just educate them of my services that we can do for them, right? And by you saying that, kind of just like sparked something in me, like, well, does it seem like that'd be the same thing you kind of do with your customers? Because you're saying all your clients are good people, so you're probably finding interest in them. That's different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I think the way I refer to it is I have a consultation approach. So even though it's sales, and you know, for a good time, real estate was right up there with sleazy car salesmen, right? and it just had a really bad reputation for people, hard closers, just sign the contract, buy the house, and then it's roach infested, and all those type of stories. And so I took more of a consultation approach where it's more like, here's option 1, here's option 2, here's option 3. Which one would you like? Now they're picking the option, and they feel confident, comfortable with the decision because it was their decision instead of me telling them this is the house for you. And so and that's kind of the same approach I have throughout the whole process, like where I understand it's like, okay, year number 3, I needed a real estate transaction to close. If not, I was going to have to go get a job. So I better close this transaction. But if I did that, I would lose the client. And I'd rather lose a transaction than lose the client. If they say this isn't the house for me and they cancel, I'd rather that happen and move on and keep the client and move on to the next one. So I did have to back off of the hard closing tactics and actually that wasn't even natural to me. So if I just focus on what is their goal, what is their timeline, and if that timeline doesn't match with my bills that are coming at me now, then I need to just have more clients lined up.
Right.
If that one client isn't gonna pay my bills, then immediately I need to have a couple more, so that way I don't have to worry about that, and I can show up as the agent that they needed.
Yeah, that sounds real good.
So how do you create a client base for people that are watching? Like, what is your method?
Yeah.
How do you,
Yes.
create that?
So I do my best to be structured, right? To have an actual set schedule. Even though we're self-employed and everybody wants to be in real estate because you could do it part-time, you could do it on the side, you could do it, it could just be a side hustle and extra money. Yeah, that doesn't work. Like for it to really work, it's got to be structured. It's got to be scheduled. And that way you can have predictable business. So for me, it's fundamentals, which is phone calls. And I have an automatic dialer where it's dialing, making phone calls, especially around any property that we've sold. Then immediately I'm marketing it to all the neighbors because it's very likely that once that sign popped up, someone's already thinking about like, should we move too? And by the time that one is sold, another 2 or 3 are also going to put their house on the market.
Oh, wow.
I just got to find them. Yes.
I didn't know that.
Wow, that's
Yes.
huge.
Yes.
So you're saying a lot of times if it's like a cul-de-sac,
Yeah.
or a neighborhood,
Yeah.
that if you have your sign up being sold, that 2 or 3 other people might follow.
Oh, yes.
Oh, wow.
I've had it where on one block of 9 homes, I did 6 transactions.
Oh wow.
Yes.
That's good. That's a lot of money, right?
Going back to what was one of my memorable or my favorite sales.
That's gotta be
You would think that it would be like the $1 million deals.
Right.
For me, some of my biggest paychecks were the ugly little houses. The ugly beat up ones where they were like, I just need to get this sold so I could retire, move out of the state. And it's a cash investor coming in. We close it in 4 days, and I'm able to represent both. And those end up being my biggest checks than the $1 million deals.
Wow. That's like you said, 4 days.
Yeah.
That's so quick.
Cash money.
Cash money.
So it's a win-win for my client who needed a quick sell, who didn't want to have their house on the market with people coming in and seeing these are like houses where it's almost like borderline hoarders. It's like you and I wouldn't even eat lunch there.
Man.
Yeah.
Wow. So I mean, if you were to like tell people that are trying to get into real estate, they wouldn't even know that. They would think that the nice houses are where they're getting their money, but the paychecks are coming from those.
That's where they would think the big money is.
Yes.
I would have never known that.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I mean, the $1 million ones are nice too, and they're a little bit more glamorous, and they're funner to do it's much more fun to do an open house at a really nice house with good air conditioning. Sipping champagne,
Right.
But yeah.
So I heard you talk about, in your life that God's important.
Mm.
He's there in your life, right?
Yeah.
So as a man doing what you're doing, as a father, as an entrepreneur, how big is God a part of your life?
So, my grandpa was a pastor. A couple of my uncles are pastors. My dad was a pastor. Everyone thought I was going to be a minister. And even I think there was a point where even I thought I was going to be a pastor.
Because you could talk.
I just want to wear a suit.
And you look good. And you look good in the suit.
These hands can't do construction.
Right.
No, but I remember when I was talking about that time with the DUI and everything. that's when I kind of went through my own little spiritual journey. I even went on, I was so fortunate. I went on a trip to Cambodia. It was for 2 weeks. And it was like a missionary trip with the church and everything.
Oh, wow.
And I remember that whole, it was like a good year of just being of service. And when I came back into real estate, that's where I had to add on my business card, servant leader. Because like that really changed my perspective on everything. So as far as like God being able to be that foundation, like I feel like we could speak openly, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Always.
So I'm not like this super religious person, and I know God exists. I know He's there in my life. There's times where I've been frustrated with God. You know, where I thought, dude, you know this whole manifestation thing that everyone talks about, and like, if you just believe it, it's going to happen. Yeah, I probably didn't take enough action behind that belief, but I believed it so much that I thought it was going to happen, and God's just going to bless me, and we're favored, and it's just going to be there.
Right.
And when that didn't happen, I remember it was the first time I really felt disappointed, frustrated actually, and so I had that a little bit of a struggle with my relationship with God in that sense. I knew who He is, omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient, all powerful, and I knew who I was, dependent on Him, and so that's where I just stayed in my lane. You know, I just realized, look, until He decides that my timing is right, and until He decides that I become the person to manage and own and develop all of the things that I want to own, manage, and develop, then I'm just going to continue being who I am, the human that I am, the man that I am. And I'll leave that on His timing. All I could do is, and I swear, my kids, my daughters, they're 6 and 8. They're gonna grow up kind of like just mimicking me. All you got to do is the best you can with what you got, where you're at. Because that's all that life requires of us. That's all that God requires of us, to do the best you can with what you got, where you're at.
And never lose faith.
Yes.
And never lose faith.
Yes.
Do you notice though? I feel like now I mean hearing even more of who you are, right? Do you notice that a lot of men, I want to even say men that are on the rise, are trying to build something, a lot of them end up going back to God.
Oh, yeah.
At certain points.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like the struggle's so hard, so strong that's who they need to go to.
Definitely, 100%.
And I feel like that's a real thing. I mean, the more people we talk to, the more people we interview, it's like that's what we hear.
Yeah.
Right? Like at some point they fall to their knees.
Yes.
And they're like they need God. Yes. And I think that's a great thing for men to hear.
Yeah.
Like they shouldn't be embarrassed to get on their knees and go after God. You know what I mean? Because at the same time, like life is hard, right? And most men can't go to other men or anybody for help.
Yes.
They'll go to each other. I mean, even me and him, been friends a long time. We'll go to each other for certain things. Yeah. But like the things that are really getting you, you're like, I got to keep this right here. Yes. You know what I mean? They'll be in their room in silence about that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Going to God. And I feel like the ones that aren't, if there isn't, you know, honestly, I haven't met any. Like at those points, they're mostly going to God, right? Yeah. So I mean, I think that's great for people to hear that.
Yes. That's how it always happens. You know, with even if you're not a believer, even if you call yourself an atheist, you know, your last hope, your last option, be like, let me try.
I'm wrong.
Right. You know, they're gonna fall. Like he said, it's gonna be like, God, where are you? I need you. You know what I mean? That's even the homeless man on the street. You know what I mean? He still has hope and faith in, you know, when he, you know, need that food. Father or God, send someone to, you know, bless me. Yeah. You know, it's raining. We're a shelter. Help me, lead me, guide me. You know, so at the end of the day, when you're down on your luck, and when it's, you know, like Jacob said, most people just, you know, they call out. You know.
Yeah, it's like some way somehow, like the way I heard it once, it was like so many men live in quiet desperation. because they feel that they can't talk to anybody.
That's
or
good.
if they do talk to somebody, you just showed up as a weak person. So it's quite desperation. It's almost like yelling underwater. You know, that feeling.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's like yelling underwater.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly how that feels.
Yeah.
Yelling underwater.
Yeah.
Wow. I like that.
Let me ask you a question. What is your favorite part of working in your field, working in real estate?
Yeah, I mean, we touched a little bit about it, about how it's so dynamic. And I remember since the beginning, like, when people would ask me, like, why do you want to get into real estate? I'm like, because it's dynamic. Like, I could, there's so many angles, right? There's working in escrow. There's working in title. There's selling residential real estate, selling luxury homes, selling commercial property. There's the angle of door knocking, open houses, phone calls. Like, it's just so many different angles that when it gets boring or when it gets repetitious and you think that you've accomplished what you needed to accomplish, now you want to do something different, we could find another avenue. Investing, flipping, buy and hold, renting out properties, all of that.
That's good. Yeah. So where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Ooh, 5 years. All right. So right now, all of the goal setting that I do is on a 1-year plan. And I mean, like think back when you were in high school, when you were barely becoming a freshman, and when you were graduating high school, like so much happens in just 4 years, in those 4 years, right? So 5 years, what kept happening to me is when I tried to do a 5-year plan, 10-year plan, 20-year plan, my plans kept changing. My goals kept changing. What was important to me at one point wasn't important anymore. So, I mean, I think overall, like big picture though, and it might be even a little less than 5 years or a little more than 5 years, but big picture, so we talked a little bit about the foreclosure. That one kind of hurt, right? Mm-hmm. And where I thought, okay, the whole thing of home ownership might not be what I still need. So then I got into building businesses. I opened up my first real estate office, my first real estate company, and that's where I invested. And so and that did okay, but I see it with my clients time and time again when they sell. And I mean, it'll be sometimes a little shack of a house that they just hold on for 3-5 years, and I'm handing them their check after 2-3 years of owning that property, $100,000, $150,000. I'm like, oh, that was a good investment. Don't they wish they bought 2-3 of these? And then I think, don't I wish I bought 2-3 of these? Like, right. I get first look at all these properties. So for sure, it's to get back into the whole spectrum of investing and holding real estate. So multiple units.
So dreaming,
yeah.
You know, so that's a big part of, you know, humanity and society. You know, we have these big dreams in life. So when I've asked you about your, you know, where do you see yourself in 5 years? You know, do you have any big dreams and goals that you want to, you know, have been saving for or anything like that?
You know, I growing up, I was super artistic, and I loved watching like sci-fi movies. My favorite movie still to this day is The Matrix. And so like what I mean by that, you heard what I said, right? When I was growing up.
Right.
And somewhere along the line, like I disconnected from that and I just started focusing on reality. And as much as I think it's exciting to dream, there's been disappointments along the line where I'm just like, well, let me just edge it up here. And when I'm there, then I'll start dreaming a little bit more. And let me just edge it up here, and then I'll start dreaming a little bit more. And that's something I've been working on, where it's like using your imagination again. I think a Lamborghini is definitely something that you got to throw in there.
Right.
You got to throw it in there.
Right. Yeah. But that's going to be your reality because, you know, you live in reality also.
Yes. Turn that into actuality.
Yes. Yes. Definitely.
Yes. And then, of course, you know, what's wild about in 5 years, my oldest daughter's going to be 13. She'll be getting ready for high school. That's going to be exciting. That's a whole other aspect of life. You know, I'm very fortunate. I always wanted a boy. I swore I was going to have a son. I have my grandpa, he's senior. My dad, junior. I'm the third. And I was like, Claudio the fourth. And I'm actually the last Ingleton. Like, after me, because I have a sister. She got married. She has a different last name. My cousins, they have different last names because it's through my aunts. And so I'm the last Ingleton. If I don't have a son, like the movie Last of the Mohicans, I'm the last Ingleton.
you're gonna have to make it happen.
Everyone says,
where's she at?
Yeah, they say you gotta make it happen. I'm
you
like,
can find her at the bar.
Where's she at?
I always say I have 2 daughters, so I said I tried twice.
Yeah. So speaking of that, okay.
Yes.
What does a man like you look for in a woman? A woman, I'm not talking about women.
Yes.
Woman. Like,
Yes.
what do you look for in that
Yeah.
woman? The woman you're looking for that you would want to settle down with.
Yeah.
Going through everything you've been through, having your daughters, trying to get your business rolling as an entrepreneur, get everything moving.
Yeah.
What do you look for in a woman that you would want by your side?
Yeah. Yes. I think we could agree. We live in an interesting world right now, right? There's been a lot of changes happening, like in morals, in principles, in values, and just overall society. So many shifts happening. Where I don't know if you guys see it like me, but I feel like we're going through the masculinization of women and the feminization of men.
Yeah.
Like right now, I look around and I see a lot of women that have bossed up.
Right.
And I'm like, wow, okay, they're doing it.
Right.
There's some people in business, there's some women in business that I look up to more than some of the men in business right now. And then there's this thing about almost like a Peter Pan syndrome where I don't want to grow up for men, where they just want to play video games and be college kids at 40, 50, 60, and there's no more ambition, there's no more drive, and I want to clarify this. Like, I think you guys could tell. Like me, I like to smile a lot. I like to joke around. I'm kind. I'm loving. I'm caring. But that's still part of being a man.
Definitely, 100%.
Yeah. I think a lot of men confuse it where they gotta just be the strong,
macho.
aggressive. Yeah, just bashing through. There's 2 ways to have the tallest building in the city. 1 is you go around bashing every building, or 2, you build the tallest building in the city. So like we could go around criticizing and complaining and all that, which I think a lot of men are doing right now. They're taking that approach instead of really buckling down and focusing and building and being excited about it. They could do it with a smile. They could do it with the helping hand.
Well, that's the thing too. Is the guys, the men, so-called men, that are going around crying and complaining. I mean, about all that, we don't do that. You know what I mean? Like, why are you gonna sit there and cry and complain?
Or if you do it for 5 minutes and then move on.
Well, yeah,
don't stay there.
There's always gonna be situations that's gonna bother a man and things like that. Yeah. But if you live in that, that's not gonna work out for you, right? So
that's why the women are stepping up.
That's why they're winning right now, and they are.
Yes.
They are. There's a lot of boys out there. That's what's going on.
Sheep.
There's a lot of sheep, Baaz, just Baazing all over the place. Because they're just followers. They're like, oh, this woman's going to leave me, I'll just follow her then. That's what's going on.
She's going to take care of me, I'm a right behind her. And she's...
You can see that all day.
Definitely.
Everywhere you go. Yeah. And it's different. It's men like you that is bossing up and making decisions and doing things that women would want to follow.
Because you have daughters.
Yes. Yes.
You have to show them what a real man looks like.
Yes.
Because they could be, no one wants their daughter, taking care of a man. And I talk about that a lot, We preach and we teach that, it's okay for a woman to lead. I'm not telling my daughter that she's gonna have to go out and let this man lead this man. I'm gonna never tell my daughter that. I'm a man. I'm gonna show my daughter and I'm gonna teach her that hey, men are supposed to lead at all times. You can help. Where you get in where you fit in. But you're not about to lead a man, ever.
It's about supporting them.
Right.
It's about supporting men. And I have a daughter, so I feel the same way. I look at her. And I don't want her taking care of a man.
No.
That's just like I look at that as like, no, that can't how it. She needs to feel safe, like how she feels with me, safe and comforted and taken care of. At the same time, like if she sees me, obviously she ain't seen me going through things like a wife would or something. She's small, But when she sees me, something going on with me, she'll notice it and be like, hey, like she wants to play around, make me happy, things like that. That's support, right? Yeah. And I feel like that's what a woman should be, is all about support. And that's why a man that you are, and going through the things that you have gone through, I feel like it's important to explain like what you would see in a woman. Like, what would the qualities be that you're like, okay, I would want my woman. Okay, would you want your woman posting herself half naked all over Instagram and social media?
I mean, I feel like I don't get jealous, but I would get jealous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it's not even about being jealous, though.
Well,
Why would you want every man to see
what
your
I'm
woman
thinking of.
half naked?
That part, yeah.
Because then it's like, oh, I seen her ass too. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, it's nice, right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't want no man saying, oh yeah, it's nice, dude.
Yeah.
It's nice, right?
Yeah.
Why would you want that?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you might end up having a one night stand with that woman. But are you gonna keep her and just take her seriously?
Oh yeah, no. There's a big difference between someone that you would date, hook up with, be with, and someone that you would marry. And so once it comes to marriage, like the rules change. You know, it's single rules versus marriage rules, two different things. Like even when you were talking about right now, like we wouldn't want our daughters to support a man. I think part of it is not even about. Like our daughter is more about we have an image of what kind of guy that is.
Right.
Exactly.
Right?
Definitely.
And we're like, no, we just wouldn't want her to be with that dude.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
if she has to do that, like why would she have to do that?
Right.
Like I want my daughter to be successful.
Yeah.
I'm building her up to be strong.
Yes.
I have her in jiu-jitsu, I have in different things, right?
Yeah.
I want her to be strong. But the man better be stronger. You know what I mean? He needs to make sure he's taking care of her. And I would love her to be strong when she needs to be for him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Which I have a daughter, I don't even want to talk about that because I just want to just punch any man, you know what I mean? But I'm just saying, like if we're being real, we know at some point that's going to happen.
it's gonna happen.
But good thing I have goons to go out there and just take care of it.
100.
We gotta mentally prepare since the day they were born. Like,
Right.
what happened?
Don't touch her. Don't even look at her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so so like on that aspect there, it's that, and that's for them. You know, I feel that if I just do a good job of being, by the way, I'm very grateful that I get a lot of compliments where people are like, "You're such a good dad. You're such a good dad," and I always laugh and I appreciate the compliment. Like to me, that's like that's the sweetest thing you can say to me.
Definitely.
At the same time, I know I'm not that good of a dad. I'm a dad.
Right.
If I was a woman doing the things that I do with my daughters, no one even bats an eye. It's expected. You're supposed to.
Right.
It's just so many men are dropping the ball so bad with their kids and not being there and not even, even the affection, giving them hugs and kisses and complimenting them, disciplining them when they need it, correcting them. They're dropping the ball so much that they make me look so good.
That is interesting.
That's why they came out with that word deadbeat.
Hey.
You know?
But that's very interesting what you said, because honestly, I didn't look at it from that angle. Because honestly, most of my really close friends are good dads.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that you don't see a lot of.
Yeah.
But I feel like I hang around howlers. That's
Yeah.
the thing, and we're gonna be howling in every aspect of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
So I get that too.
Yeah.
But I feel like a real howler
Yeah.
never thinks they're doing great in anything. Even as being a dad,
Yeah.
like I always look at it like, man, I could have done that better.
Yeah.
Or I could have handled that better.
Mm-hmm.
Or I need to take them to church more.
Yes.
I need to take them here
Yes.
more. I need to push them harder, And then when you push them too hard, you're like, wait a minute, I slow down a little bit. That was a little tough,
Yes.
You don't feel like you're doing perfect, but I feel like if you think you are, you're not a real howler. Like, because even in business and anything you do, you always want to be a step ahead or rise above or be better at whatever you do, because you can always be better in anything.
Yeah.
So I feel like what he said was really
Definitely.
on point.
On point.
Yeah, it's a constant and never-ending improvement.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let me. Go ahead.
I think the question was like, what I look for in a woman, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it kind of goes along with that. At the end of the day, for me, it's pretty simple. Someone that's kind, someone that's sweet, affectionate. That book, The 5 Love Languages.
Mm-hmm.
I was realizing the other day, like I'm fluent in all the languages.
That's great.
Like when someone does a little bit of act of service, I'm like, oh my goodness,
That's great.
thank you for the cup of coffee.
That's great.
When someone's holding my arm and walking with me and oh man, I love that. And just that, I feel like a man. And so you know, I think at the end of the day, it just needs to be. I want a woman that I could respect, that I could look up to, that I could admire, and also for her to be a leader in her world, in her life. You know, so I think it's perfectly fine for me to be all that I can be, and for her to be all that she could be, and we're there to complement each other, support each other, encourage each other. That's an ideal relationship for me.
That's true. And you know what's crazy is that's all real most men want. Is they don't need some extravagant lifestyle thing going on with them. Like what you just said, holding the arm.
Yeah.
That's like real.
Oh, that's major.
You're like, damn, that feels good. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I got my girl on my arm, you know, or like you said, a cup of coffee, bring it to you. We're like, you just won.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, bring it as a plate of food. Oh, you just won. Like, you just won me over right now.
But you know, at the same time, and you know, and this is like probably like random little events, right? Like we'll do something nice for our significant other, right? We'll get them like flowers or roses or something. But it doesn't mean that I got to be a florist. It doesn't mean I got to be a gardener.
Right.
Yeah.
So same for them. Like, it's nice when they help make the bed and help clean up. But I don't need a housemaid.
Yeah.
Right.
I want a wife.
Right.
I don't want someone to do the dishes. I have a dishwasher for that.
Right.
You know, I don't need somebody to, or if all I wanted was for someone to cook for me, then I don't need a wife. I need a chef. Right?
Right.
I just need a meal prep service.
Right.
Or I just need to go to a restaurant. So once we take away those duties that women a couple of years ago grew up thinking that was their only value, which now we have a whole other set of issues with these filters. And,
Right.
you know, they think beauty is the only value they bring.
Yeah.
Beauty fades.
Right.
What happens when we get older?
Right.
Right. So that's why you'll go to a place like Orange County, LA, and it's so common to see a 50, 60-year-old with his daughter until she's like, "Thank you, daddy," and it's daddy,
Yeah.
not daddy.
Yeah.
It's like this is
Right.
you know, it's
Right.
a 20-year-old dating a 50-year-old.
Right.
Yeah.
And because
He
like
pimping.
because he's like, I'm getting older, they stay the same age.
Right.
And you know, and that's one way, that's one mindset. But for me, I think I want a lifelong partner. You know, I want a confidant.
Well, I think that's what most men actually want.
Yes.
But
When you don't find it,
you can't find it.
Yeah.
It's
Find
one
the
in
next
a, it's
substance.
1 in a million. 1 in a million. You know what I mean?
it's very challenging.
But I deal with a lot of relationships, but I hear you. And when I hear you speak and you giving, you know, what you're looking for in a woman, I understand that you want a woman to know your love language.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. Is knowing, you know, your love language and, you know, your expectation and, you know, not just what you can bring, what you could do for me. Yes, what you could do. Who you are.
But you know
Yeah.
what's crazy?
Yes.
But you know what's even crazier is a woman that actually is into you will know your love language immediately
Oh, yeah.
almost. So if they act like they don't know, it's because they don't care.
They don't care.
Right?
Yes.
They just don't care.
They care about
so,
their own.
So if they're like, if you have to explain things to them, it's and they're like, huh? It's like because they don't care. They're out there doing whatever else they're doing. Right?
Yes.
So we kind of know that already.
Yes.
It's just that we're just like, all right, well we know what category to put you in now.
That's the problem with so many relationships is that, like, remember when we were kids and there was the circle, the triangle, and the square?
Right.
So many people are trying to put the circle in the triangle. And, you know, like, and trying to explain, like, look, this is my love language. This is what I need. This is what makes me feel loved. And you're right. They don't care. They don't care. They care about how
They
you're going to
feel.
fulfill their needs.
Yes.
Yeah, they're thinking about how they feel and how they want you to make them feel, and as soon as that feeling goes away, then they're on to the next.
Yes.
Because they want that spark, boom. But then sooner or later they're going to be 35 to 38 to 40, and that's kind of when a woman on looks a lot of the time it just starts fading.
Yeah.
And they start seeing, wait a minute, why are these dudes not paying attention to me as much? But we could do this till we're 70, 80 years old, and we can still keep rolling. So it's kind of sad for them,
Yes.
but they don't realize it because they think it's all I live in now.
Yeah.
You know, but in reality, at some point, it's going to fade.
Yeah.
And we just like a fine wine. When we age, we look better. You know what I mean? Kind of the way things go.
And you know, that's why, like, you know, it's the superficial aspect. Like, I mean, I kid you not, like, and here just like more just to be silly and just to be funny, where, like, you know, there's some women that I know that they'll take every picture and every video with a filter, but they know when they take that filter off, they don't look like that. I thought they knew that. there's like a disconnect where some of them, they think like
believe.
that's their mirror.
Right.
Like that's all they see. And now they believe they got it like that.
Right.
And they walk around acting like that, but it's like, nah, you ain't that.
Well, you see even on other shows and stuff, they're calling themselves 10s. And they're like, whoa, like I wouldn't even call you a 2. You know what I mean? Like, how are you a 10?
Yeah,
you know, like maybe take the 0 off. You know? I don't even know about that. But let's get back into it.
Let's get back into it.
We're gonna.
It's gonna turn into a relationship, right? So, what do you feel are your top 3 skills in your field?
Oh, okay, my field. So, okay, so one of the ones that like we have to develop in real estate is the art of negotiation, and so there is entry level negotiation. You know, it's like when people are playing poker. You know, it's a poker game, and when someone comes across entry level negotiation, well, we'll meet you halfway. You already said that line. I already know like your entry level negotiation. So you got to be expert level in negotiation. So that's one skill. Expert level means that they feel I know what end result I need, and I guided them to the point where they feel that they made the decision and they're happy about it. Except I got the result I needed.
Wow.
Yeah. That one. Second one would be. So here it actually kind of it might not even be necessarily a skill, but for me, I needed to develop it. Oh, yeah. I mean, if you knew me when I was a kid, he's a people person. If you knew me when I was a kid, I kid you not, man, I would go to the library and get books on how to make friends. I remember some of the things that it said. It said smile. A smile is a welcome mat to let people know you're willing to be friends. It's like saying.
And you know that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's all
good.
That's all I think when I see you. I'm dead serious. I when I met you, and that's how I always envision you, right?
Yes.
Like when I see you. So I can see that. I can see you doing that. My son has a very hard time meeting friends. A very hard time.
Yes.
So that relates with what you just said. Really like affects me. You know what I mean? Because I know how hard it is for my son to make friends.
Yeah. I mean, I think that had to become a skill. Like, it had to be on purpose. I wasn't naturally like that. Super shy. My dad was worried when I was growing up. It's like, how's this guy gonna make it in life? Like, he's so introvert and soft spoken and well mannered and everything. And so definitely had to develop that. But it was to that point where I had to go check out books on how to make friends. It was so funny. And then
that's a great experience to me.
I think that's I mean, just from being in where I'm going on in life with my son, I really like that who you are, because that makes me think. I'm always thinking about my son. So by knowing you, I mean, you have a lot of friends. I see you with a lot of friends. Every time I'm seeing you, we're hanging out, different things, you know. Yeah. And my son is very shy. Yeah. He tells me all the time he's shy. Yeah. So he doesn't have a bunch of people he talks to. So you explain that to me. I like that.
Yeah. Tell your son ask him, what's the most important word to each person in the English language or in our language? And he'll come up with some words, and then just give him a tip. Tell him, Claudio said their name. If you remember their name, people love to hear their name. Even if they say, I don't like my name. My name's weird. I wish I was named Kathy, or I wish my name was Mark. If you just say their name, like, hey, how you been, Steven? And you say their name, that already starts to build relatability. Yeah. So just a little fun.
Good.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see that. You know,
a lot of sense.
Yeah.
What questions do you ask your clients to make sure that their needs are met?
Okay. To make sure that their needs are met. So, open-ended questions. And so, if I were to ask somebody, do you like this house? I started with the word do. Do you like this house? How could they answer it? Yes or no? Closed-ended question. If I ask, what do you like about this house? Just starting with the word what, now they're going to be saying, well, I like the floor plan, I like the price range, it's in my budget, that pool in the backyard is a big plus. Now they're opening up open-ended questions. So in order to be able to have enough information to know what they're thinking, what they want, what end result they're looking to do in the time frame that they're looking to do, I have to be able to ask them open-ended questions to gather that information and be able to guide them.
Without being dominant.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, because, I mean, we hear about it, right? Like
They be in fear.
Yeah. If you don't buy this house today, they're going to have 10 offers by tomorrow.
Right.
It's going to sell by the weekend.
Right.
You better jump on it now.
Right.
It's like,
So you don't use the fear tactic, the
that's entry level.
entry level. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I've been doing real estate now for 10 years, but it's very intentional. So even though it's 10 years, it feels like it feels like I've been able to experience and develop more than other people that have been selling real estate for 10 years. And it's because of things like that, being intentional with it.
There's a question I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
So I a lot of the things I've seen, you do a lot of social media, right?
Uh-huh.
So what I wanted to ask you is how important it is for you to use internet, social media for what you do.
You know, I wish I had like 300,000 followers by now.
Right.
I feel like my content is that good.
That's right. That's
Your
right.
content is really good.
Yeah. We've
No,
won.
but you know, I think social media, I definitely use it for work. So everyone that follows me or that I follow on social media is actually somebody that I know. Or I'll say it backwards. I follow people that inspire me, but for sure people that I know. And then the ones that follow me are people that I actually have met. So all my past clients are on there, leads, they're all there. Family, friends, all my network, it's all on my social media, on Facebook and on Instagram and everything else. And so that's one way that I stay relevant. Like right now, like one of the biggest insults that someone could say to me is to ask me, hey, what do you do for a living? If they don't know what I do by now, oh man, I'm not doing my job. So social media definitely helps me to keep that front of mind. Like they know when they think real estate, if their toilet isn't working and they need a plumber and it has to do with real estate, I want them to call me.
100%.
Anything that has to do with real estate, call me.
Yeah.
And you know what? Like I see how you really utilize it. So I mean, how I see you, I remembered you a lot from the funny things you do on your real estate reels,
yeah.
right? And I would see that a lot. And then I see how you do a lot of, like, you just talk about real estate. You stand in front of the camera and you're just explaining real estate.
Yes.
And I actually would encourage a lot of people to watch your stuff.
Awesome.
Because not only is it educational, it's funny.
Yeah.
You have a lot of funny things on there. I remember telling you that before.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I really like your social media.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, I try to mix it up, because like I've noticed like when I post anything that's personal, like my family, my daughters, hanging out, going out to eat, things like that. Certain people like that. When I post like TikToks where it's just like funny things, silly things, certain people like that. And when I post like some of the more professional posts about real estate sales and transactions, other people like that. So I try to keep it blended so that way it reaches out to who it needs to reach out to.
We're going to get in your pockets a little bit.
Yeah.
How many homes do you sell a year?
Yeah. And keep in mind, you can ask me anything.
Okay.
I'm an open book.
Okay.
Yes. So let's see. On how many homes I sell a year? My best year was 30 transactions of my personal production. So it was 30 homes for me. My team did 89 transactions that year. On average, I always keep it above 20 transactions. 25 is my average, but 30 has been my best year.
Wow, that's great.
And that's why you drive that nice car we see outside.
So 30 out of 89, you were obviously the top seller.
Oh, well, I had to be.
Definitely.
If not, they're not going to follow me.
Right, definitely.
Wow, that's
Yes,
great. That's beautiful,
yes,
man.
yeah.
Actually, I like that one. So if someone was looking to be a realtor,
Yes.
if someone was looking to be a realtor, what would you suggest them to do?
Ooh. So immediately, I think it's important to know this. Like, if they have some sort of sales background, they're going to do better than the people that don't have sales background. Sometimes, people that talk a lot, like, you'll go, like, to a party, and it's the one chatting and talking to everybody, and everyone tells you should be a realtor, you should be a realtor. Probably not. It's telling is not selling. So it's to kind of fix the misconceptions of it, and for them to just to be coachable in the beginning. Just learn, because it's a very tough business. I know that now there's some shows on TV that have made it more glamorized, which is good. It's good for our industry to make it fun, to make it exciting. But it's a grind. It's a hard business, and it's very disappointing. And things come and go. sometimes like the easy deals, like all of a sudden you get a phone call and you're like, yes, I'm ready to sell. And then 2 weeks later, they're like, you know what? We can't find the next house. We're just going to put this on pause for 2 years. Boom, it's gone. Easy come, easy go. Wow. So I think it's just to prepare emotionally, mentally, financially. They need to have some savings. They need to be ready for not immediate paychecks. We're building a business.
Definitely.
We're building a business. So I think that's one of the biggest challenge that I see for people. If they don't come in with that mindset that we're ready to work and like really work, and it's going to be an extraordinary effort just to get ordinary results in the beginning, then that's where I see a lot of disappointment. So it would be to fix that. Yeah.
Prepare yourself to be a howler.
Yeah, and be coachable, learn, develop, and stick with it, especially with the sales skills.
Well, we appreciate you coming on, Claudio.
Hey,
Claudio
awesome.
Ingleton.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. It was great.
Yes.
It was great, man.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank
Awesome,
you.
guys.
This is Howls Over Baaz with Claudio Ingleton, and this is Mainstream Realtor.
Howls of a Baaz.
Howls Over Baaz.